It's not every day I get to talk to someone who I grew up watching on television. Ed Asner is an acting legend, best known for his iconic role as Lou Grant on the genre-bending Mary Tyler Moore Show. Over the course of his career, he's won 7 Emmy Awards and served 2 terms as president of the Screen Actors Guild. But Asner's not just another celebrity bigwig. He's one of the most fervent anti-war activists in Hollywood and is very outspoken about a variety of issues from universal health care to workers' rights. Well, he joins me now from our LA studio. Welcome, Ed Asner. It's a great pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Sorry to be gagging as you introduce me.
So, Ed, yesterday was the 12th anniversary of 9/11. Ed, you've been extremely vocal about this issue and called the investigation a sham. Why do you question the official story?
Because it's filled with holes. It's filled with holes about Building 7. It's filled with holes about the hot steel. It's filled with holes about the thermite. It's filled with holes about the confusion about the terrorists themselves. I mean, it goes on, and if you want to talk about 9/11 for the rest of the afternoon, I'll be glad to participate.
Well, Ed, a recent poll shows that 38% of Americans don't believe the official story, yet if you question it, you're labeled a conspiracy theorist by the corporate media. Ed, do you think that this label has prevented more prominent figures such as yourself from speaking out?
Well, they like to diminish us and dismiss us by calling us conspiracy theorists. There has never been a fully fledged, there's an organization called 2,000 architects and engineers on 9/11 who challenge the story of how 9/11 happened or how it could have happened. I see no rational, objective discussion going on anywhere in the country because the people wish to be bobbleheads. They wish to nod their head in agreement with whoever is in charge.
And what about people on the left, Ed? Do you think that this is the same reason, that it's just too much to handle to talk about this issue?
Of course. Yeah, first of all, people either don't want to challenge the myth of America, that America could do this or allow this to be done to itself, or they're too afraid to challenge authority. So that takes care of at least a majority of people.
Well, let's talk about Hollywood. You're a seasoned actor and anti-war activist, Ed. What happened to all the anti-war activists after the Bush administration in Hollywood? Did Scientology snatch them up?
I don't know. But I think for people to ask that question, it's. I don't think the emergency was dire enough to bring the liberals out in force. Plus the fact, perhaps they believe all of the information that is talked about the evils of Assad and the purity of the rebel movement. Maybe they choose to believe that and make it simplify for them. I don't think there was an urgent need for liberals to attack en masse at this point.
Really? Because it seems like not only has Obama continued, but he's exacerbated some of the worst policies of the Bush administration. I find it hard to believe that people simply believe the rhetoric at this point, Ed. I mean, do you think that, talking to people in Hollywood, do you think that some people are too afraid to challenge the establishment because of how it'll affect their professional careers, or are they just in the pockets of the Democratic Party, as we saw Michelle Obama announced Argo at the Oscars?
Yeah, there is a... I'm sure there is a segment of the anti-war movement that wants to safeguard the less bellicose party, the Democrats, although it's hard to tell the difference anymore, that don't wish to attack the first black president to sit in the White House. There may be some element of that. I don't know how much or care. I'm not pleased with the president's performance, with or without Syria.
Right. I mean, I just can't help but think how much would it culturally shift the dialogue in this country if a lot more prominent actors did speak out, Ed. So that's why I'm concerned about it. As someone who's served for 2 terms as president of the Screen Actors Guild, you've been a staunch supporter of workers' rights. Do you take any issue with the absurd discrepancy between the average salary of top Hollywood actors and the salaries of nurses or teachers?
Oh, well, Hollywood actors are at least putting out some semblance of beauty or style or acting. I think it's unfair to list them as part of the 1%. I think time would be much better spent on the corporations who get away with not paying taxes, on the corporations and individuals who get away with all kinds of shenanigans and not paying their full share of taxes in this country. And I don't think there are that many Hollywood actors who are stealing money these days. It's been a somewhat chaotic business.
Well, I couldn't agree more that we need to be focused on the corporations that are really running the show here, especially the ones that don't pay any taxes. But I cannot deny, or it can't be denied really, that Hollywood has been used as a tool to push a lot of American values on the rest of the world over the last couple decades. As a self-proclaimed
and used to sell all kinds of American products. We have been very, very good fodder for the propaganda machine of America.
Right. I was just going to say, do you blame the industry at all for promoting this corporatist capitalist agenda?
Do I blame the industry? I don't blame the industry. No, they're out to make the bucks just like everybody else is, and in the bottom line, it's making the buck. Except for the fact that all too few of the talent that you talked about, the rich actors, there are far too few of them existent these days. I'm certainly not one of them, and I think the vast majority that you might name would not fit into the millionaire category.
Good point. Ed, you originally voted for Obama, but since then you've said that Obama has proven himself to be a corporatist, and as long as he's a corporatist, he's not my president. But Ed, we live in a corporatocracy. Were you expecting anything different?
Well, I'm a socialist. I naturally am going to work for something different. I would love to see the fact that most people in this country could understand what socialism means and wonder how it benefits the individual and how there are various socialist practices at work in this country, even though we're a corporatocracy. But I would like to see it advanced even more so that our people, to read in the paper how men sitting in Congress vote against food stamps and at the same time take millions of dollars in aid from the government for their agricultural farms and plantations. I mean, I'm sick to death of it. If the exposure would be widespread, I mean, who is this guy? There's a guy from Tennessee, I believe. I can't remember his name. $3.2 million he got from the government last year, and he voted against food stamps. And most of those Republicans, and most of them are Republicans, did the same. They
Right.
benefit and deny.
Well, socialism, the term itself, has been so taboo to even talk about. And of course, this country, you know, we have politicians that have constituents applaud them when they say that they won't provide health care. I mean, it's fascinating. We keep doling out money for more wars, though. Ed, I wanted to turn to Syria now, another issue you've been very vocal about. You know, according to a new Wall Street Journal poll, only a third of Americans support a U.S. strike on Syria. Why do you think Obama is completely ignoring popular opinion and so intent on intervening in another country's civil war?
Well, I don't know. It may fall into his corporatist agenda. And that's the other thing I wanted to point out, that about the so-called anti-war liberals in Hollywood who haven't spoken up. I think they read the figures and they see that the vast majority of the American people are against another war, yet another war, and they were stung at their treatment with George Bush in Iraq. So they felt that it was not an urgent case for them to rush forward on this one with the majority of the American people against it.
Right, and I guess, yeah, like you said, I mean, do you think that it's really just about kind of the corporatocracy's agenda, the neo-imperialist agenda to overtake the last remaining independent states here?
I also think that we have finally reached a point in this country where enough people are educated and enough people are finally looking, witness enough to history to see that we gun up, rev up, jazz up another war to kickstart the economy. We have done it too many times. Vietnam was found to be a hoax. There was even some talk about Korea. Grenada was a bunch of bull. Panama was a bunch of bull. And the worst of all was Iraq, with George W. Bush. And the millions of people who have been affected and either been hurt or died. So I think American people are finally going gun shy. And I think it serves our country wonderfully well not to be or if we're going to fix the world, let's do it with Band-Aids rather than guns.
I hope you're right, Ed. I hope that people are finally standing up to this endless war cycle that we've somehow gotten caught up in a post-9/11 world. Ed, let's talk about your charity, Autism Speaks. What drew you to this issue, and what's the charity all about?
Autism Speaks is a wonderful charity that's achieved great success in exposing and administering aid on autism. My son, I must tell you, is the executive director for California for Autism Speaks. I have a younger son who is autistic, and my son has a son who is autistic. So we are directly affected, and we wish to call the attention of this pernicious handicap out to the world and call people's attention to it. Make people aware of it, realize it, and be kind to it and its sufferers.
And millions of people around the country also are inflicted with autism. We just saw a little pop out there while you were talking from the Center for Disease Control saying that 1 in 50 children now has autism. What do you attribute to the exponential growth of this disease?
Some say it's environment. Some have tried to say that it was inoculations that did it, which I think has been discounted. It could be the environment, or it could be certainly better reporting, better recognition takes place. And by the way, I don't think that's 1 in 50 children. That's 1 in 50 boys.
Okay.
I think it's 1 in 80 some children overall, but 1 in 50 boys. So it's more recognizable, it's understandable, and it falls in within a spectrum that has commanded more and more attention as we speak. Not that we can, and a lot can be done. I know a lot has been achieved. My younger son, who is high-performing autistic, is a year away from getting his degree at college in the East.
Amazing. Amazing. Ed Asner, thank you so much. Everyone check it out. Autism Speaks. Actor, activist, Ed Asner. Amazing to have you on the program. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You're very kind.